Lied to me. You lied to me.
You said surprise you. You said surprise you.
My neck got little big sharks on my ankles. I drape out off my bra, I cut ya bangles. I go military boys with the angles. Gotta upgrade the stars out of space for me. Lot of blue cash.
Woo! Afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jets Duo Show. I guess I should say Trio Show today because we have a special guest in the building. My man, JiggaMan, or I guess this way, inverted camera, JiggaManPorto. How's it going on, man? Welcome to the Jets Duo Show.
Man, thanks, Jude. Appreciate you guys reaching out, getting me on here. You know, had a blast when you came on our show. And you know me, man. Any excuse to spend time and call it work while I'm talking Jets, I'm all for it, man. So I'm excited to jump into it with you guys today.
And of course, we have the one, the only Italy Jet. How's it going, my fellow Italian? How's it going, my brother?
Oh, you're Italian, Jude?
No, I'm just
fellow Italian. Oh, okay. All right. I had some hope.
I mean, I might be. I need to take an ancestry test. So who knows? Who knows?
I'm doing great. Long day, busy week. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July. But yeah, a lot of Jet stuff. 2 to 3 weeks from now, we got training camp. So there's a lot to get into.
Oh, yeah. 2 to 3 weeks. Training camp is coming up.
Crazy.
And of course, it's July 5th. Happy belated 4th of July to anyone who's watching this. Hope you had a fun time popping fireworks, eating hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever it is you were eating. And if we have any, foreign fans out there, you miss a special day. But hopefully you have a great Independence Day from whenever your country celebrates it. I know Canada's was July 1st. So if we have any Canadians out there, happy Canada Day belated. But let's go ahead and get into this New York Jets talk. So first things first, Quinnen Williams still hasn't got his contract extended. I said Quinnen Williams is getting extended in June. That did not happen. But Salah said it's going to be before training camp. As Italy Jet just mentioned, training camp is in 2 to 3 weeks from now. So do you guys think he's going to get extended this offseason? We'll start off with you, JiggaManPorto.
Yeah, I mean, every bone in my body says, like, you have no choice. Like, this is who we want. He needs to be here. He's earned the payday. Every time you see the reports, it seems like it's more on the years is the kind of differentiator. The good thing is we haven't seen any negative stuff coming out since the beginning when it all started, right? We're not getting the social media antics from Q. We're not getting the Jets putting out some false narrative. So that's always a good sign to me, especially in 2023 when everything's done in the public's eye on social media. So the fact that it is quiet and now you're just hearing both sides are confident. Let's be real. You got 3 weeks till training camp starts. So I think we do see it get done. If they're smart, they should get it done. So it's not looming over their heads. Right now, we've got everybody's speculation of, if they're getting hard knocks, this is a part of the storyline. They're going to let it drag out. I don't think they're looking at it that way. I think it's just a matter of normal business talks. And, fingers crossed, Q's locked up for the long term. But I'm hopeful that it definitely happens, guys.
And what are you thinking, Italy Jet?
I think it's going to happen like 3 days before training camp, at least like that week.
Are we going to put money on this? 3 days before. All right. Over or under, Jude? All right.
I mean, the Jets have done a lot of stuff like this before, so I wouldn't even be surprised. I really don't think we can afford him not to miss training camp right now. Absolutely. I think they're going to figure out Aaron Rodgers' contract, and I think they're going to figure out Q's contract. Those are the most 2 important players that we need to figure out before anybody even steps into that building that week. So I'm saying 3 to 5 days. They figure out both of them.
Oh,
that's man came in with specifics.
To 5 days. Let's hope.
And Jet must be a fortune teller because he's giving us the exact dates, ladies and gentlemen. And you were also absolutely right, Italy Jet, whenever you said Jets have a history of doing this, because you look at Zach Wilson's rookie year. Yeah. He went 3 days into training camp without even having signed his rookie deal. Sam Darnold did it whenever he was a rookie as well. Of course, Sam Darnold was under different management, but of course with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh here, Zach Wilson didn't get his deal done until like 3 days into training camp. So they have a history of making these close calls with these contract extensions or just even contracts in general. And you also bring up Aaron Rodgers getting his contract restructured, something that completely just bogged my mind. It was something that we all kind of thought was going to happen, and then it really never did. I guess they can get it done at maybe any point because, his salary is, 100 million next year. I guess we could kind of restructure that at any point, but we don't want to drag that on too much because, you look at Quentin Williams' contract extension. We want to get him here for training camp, and Quentin Williams also wants to get here, so it's not a bunch of bad press. And if you're on Hard Knocks, it's also going to be a bad look because everybody's watching Hard Knocks. Everybody's going to be like, well, make all this Quentin Williams drama that doesn't need to happen. And then, of course, Quentin Williams doesn't want to get fined either. So let's just hope this does happen 3 to 5 days before training camp starts, and we can get our star player, Quentin Williams, locked up for the future. But
yeah, and I like what you said, Jude, too, is the restructuring of other contracts. We're seeing that be done, right? So we know the front office is making moves. They're finding the money where they can. It's not everybody just looks at the Q situation. It's like, hey, we still have other pieces we have to lock up. We still have the option of going to grab other guys to fill out the roster even more. Yes, we've got depth every which way, but, like Italy loves to talk about, he would love to see another safety come in, right? Or a linebacker. So those are the moves that as you're seeing these contracts restructure, it gives you hope that they're finding the right way to balance that money to make sure a Q contract is done, but doesn't eat everything up and still leaves us room to make more moves. But I am going to make sure we clip this part right here. And when 3 days gets here, I'm going to tweet and text at Italy all day long that Q's contract better be signed 3 days before training camp.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. Okay.
3 to 5. I said 3 to 5. There you go.
All right.
And if it does happen, you're going to look like an absolute genius.
I hope so.
And then what you said, Porto, Jeremy Fowler said on Get Up today, the Jets are going to start restructuring some contracts soon to make money for Quentin Williams. I saw that on Twitter earlier today. And, of course, we quite a bit this offseason. Both of our tight ends, Carl Lawson, basically every player that had a big contract got restructured this offseason, except for Corey Davis and CJ Mosley. Those are really the only two that haven't got restructured. I was saying back in early June, we might expect them to get restructured sometime soon, and they never did, but who's to say it's not going to happen? I mean, tomorrow we could wake up and see that Corey Davis' contract has been restructured. He's only getting paid $5 million this upcoming year. Or CJ Mosley gets his contract restructured once again. So definitely, more moves are going to be made just leading up to this Quentin Williams contract extension, because that was honestly the second biggest thing that needed to happen this offseason outside of course, getting Aaron Rodgers. And it really hasn't happened. So we just need to see this Quentin Williams contract get extended. We can lock him up for the future and have all this out of the way. But like you mentioned earlier, Porto, it could be a big story on Hard Knocks, which is something that the New York Jets might be on. So if the New York Jets end up on Hard Knocks, which we most likely are, what's going to be your overall reaction? We'll start off with you, Porto.
I'm all for it, man. I've been beating that drum since Hard Knocks before all the debacle of it being delayed this far, right? By now, they've already got themselves in a team. They're already covering everything. So this is, not the usual to be this far into the offseason and us not have it announced. But look, I'm all for it. One, everybody wants to act like it'll be a distraction. I don't look at it that way. I'm sorry. If that's the case, we wouldn't have made the playoffs when Rex Ryan was there, and we've got amazing Hard Knock footage from then. I think who wouldn't want to watch the Jets, even if you're not a Jets fan? Like, that is just content. Like, if I'm the guy running HBO Max or whatever they're called now, get it together, HBO, whatever your name is, I as well would sit there and be like, why do we have to put any other name on here besides the Jets? Every storyline is great. Being able to cover Aaron Rodgers, like just the whole, Zach Wilson as the backup. Like, we just have so much that is true entertainment. And let's be real, we had 2 top stud rookies. Like, there's just so much to be hopeful for that I think it'll be top talent and top viewership, and they know it. So I don't see it being a downside. I see me throwing watch-along parties and hanging out and, just watching every single week to see how exciting it gets. I just find it crazy that they might actually lose a little bit of what they're used to because they're going to be in such a rush now, right? They don't have that stuff going. So they need to hurry up and make an announcement soon just so we all can know what the heck is going on and I can plan my, Tuesday, Wednesday nights the right way. But I'm all for Hard Knocks, man. More Jets content, sign me up.
In Italy, Jet, you for it? You're not for it.
I think in the last like 2 or 3 years, I think this goes for everybody. I think that Hard Knocks has kind of gone downhill a little bit because of everyone's doing their own production. Everyone's doing all the NFL has their own interview, one-on-one interviews, one-on-one access, all the access. So everyone looks at the name Hard Knocks and I think it's such a huge deal. Even though it is, and maybe it still will be, and going by what Porto said, the content-wise, that's phenomenal. But, like, we saw the midseason of the Cardinals HBO, like Hard Knocks. That was awful, the way everything turned out. And when it came to the Lions, it was actually pretty cool. So if we were going to get the beginning one, going into training camp, I'd much rather have that than going into the season. I think this season one might be a little bit of a knock on wood. Bad luck for the Jets because knowing us. Right now, I'd rather take flight. But if we do get Hard Knocks, I'm still going to watch it. I'm not going to boycott or anything.
Yeah, but do you guys
think interesting?
You think it would pull away from take flight? Like, I don't see it being that way. I think it's just more content, period. Right. So I mean, maybe that's just me, but I don't look at them as, oh, one's going to affect the other. I look at it as, yay, it's another piece of content for me to watch about the Jets, I just feel like everybody's just making it such a big deal, though. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get past it's a distraction. Get out of here. I mean, the way everybody has their phones out. I mean, they got social media teams sitting there and everybody's singing Taylor Swift every 2 seconds, So it's like, What difference does it make?
And that's an issue in itself. Listen, I
don't talk about T Swift like that, okay? Yay, Swifties!
Hey, bye. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I see what you're saying about Hard Knocks. I see what a lot of people are half of it, like Jets Twitter, Jets media in general. They half love it, half hate it. I'm more of like, it was cool when I saw it when Mike Westhoff and Ryan were there. Like, it was cool, but we did see a lot of drama with Revis that I didn't like. But you're going to see a lot of that even behind the scenes when Rodgers comes in. So I think it's a win-win, or it could be a win-lose. No matter what, we're going to get behind the scenes access no matter what. So I'm more 50-50, but I bet you everyone, and same goes for me. I'm calling myself out on this one. Once we see Hard Knocks in the Jets, we're all going to be jacked up. I really do. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, nobody's going to say no to, like what you said, Porto, more content, because the Jets do the Flight 23, the Take Flight series. They're going to do One Jets Drive. They're going to do all these different shows that give you the behind the scenes access. And for me, whenever I heard we were probably going to be on Hard Knocks, I was like, that's awesome. But I was like, we already get this in Take Flight and One Jets Drive. But then you think about it a bit more. The One Jets Drive and the whole thing the Jets content team does, I feel like it's maybe even a bit restricted, because this is a team's social media channel. They're not going to try to shed their team in a bad light. You never really get to see the team going through anything down. It's always supposed to up your fans, get your fans hyped. If a team loses or something, or like something happens bad, they're not really going to focus too much light on that. Kind of really just focus on the good things, and even hype up Zach Wilson as a backup quarterback, which we might see in a One Jets Drive this year or something. Just anything that could get us fans hyped, while Hard Knocks would give us more like of a actual hard knock view of the team, what's going to happen. This whole Corner Williams behind the scenes contract, we're going to get to see that on Hard Knocks if it's still going on, and we're going to get to see some behind the scenes specifics as to why it took so long to happen, and all kind of stuff that you probably wouldn't get to see on the Jets' actual show. So I'm very excited for Hard Knocks. I just really want to see what's going to happen. And I've never even really watched Hard Knocks before. As crazy as it sounds, like, I never watched Hard Knocks. I've always wanted to watch Hard Knocks, just never did, because I was like, I really want to watch the Lions on Hard Knocks. I really want to watch the Rams, the Chargers. But now that we have the Jets on Hard Knocks, I'm like, okay, this is going to be my first season watching the show. I've heard nothing about great things for him. And let's just go ahead, and be the stars of this. And like you were saying earlier, Porto, I mean, HBO wants the Jets on Hard Knocks. Like, why wouldn't you? Aaron Rodgers, Offensive Rookie, Defense of the Year, like all those great awards. The Jets have all these star players.
Right.
And the reason why it's been dragging out so long is because HBO wants us on the show, but we don't want to be on it. And, you know, we already declined and everything, but HBO wants to go to us. They don't want to go to the Commanders. They don't want to go to the Bears. They don't want to go to the Saints. They want to come to the New York.
Yeah, and you got to give HBO a little bit of credit too, right? They could have easily, the minute we said no in the first place, been like, who cares? We're doing it. They still gave it time, and they went looking around. They got a bunch of no's elsewhere, and they even went out of their mandatory, like if you're, you know, the forced mandatory, not in the playoffs the last 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. And they were like, all right, you know what? Let's go look and see if there's a team that actually wants it that's worth covering. Yeah. It didn't come to light, and you know what? It is what it is. I mean, even the Green Bay Packers owner threw a little shade about, oh, it's going to be fun to watch Aaron Rodgers and the rest of the Packers on HBO Hard Knocks. Ooh, yeah. Right? So one, slap him in the face. Number two, he's right, though. You know, like even the Packers fans are going to want to tune in and see what's going on with their team, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's just made so much sense to just have the Jets on Hard Knocks. And, you know, it does suck that the team doesn't want to be on it, but that's definitely not going to hinder my viewership about it. I'm still going to be tuning in and be like, what is going 100%. On? This is absolutely awesome. One of the potential stories we could see on Hard Knocks outside of a potential Quentin Williams, you know, extension, if that were to drag on, is a potential Bryce Huff trade. Because one of the cool things about Hard Knocks, and I never watched the show, but just from watching clips, you get behind the scenes into stuff that the general managers do, into contract negotiations and trades. And if the New York Jets were to make a trade this offseason, we'd probably get some behind-the-scenes access to that on Hard Knocks. And Pro Football Focus tweeted out, or not even tweeted out, they just made an article listing a move that every team in the NFL should make before the offseason ends. And the one they had for the Chicago Bears was for them to trade for Bryce Huff. So do you guys think that Bryce Huff should be traded? We'll start off with you, Italy J.
I mean, he's one of the guys on my list that's on the bubble because of everything we brought in this summer, the draft and everything. Will McDonald, I mean, he's him and McDonald's got the fastest get off on this team. So if they're gonna pick right now, it would seem like they would pick JJ and McDonald right now over Huff. So I want a nice package for Huff if that happens, because Huff last year, great numbers when he was in there. He fastest get off when he can get to the quarterback, and just his sprint speed. I mean, it was amazing to watch him. Like he messed up Allen last year along with JJ. So it's going to be interesting to see what package that is and if we can keep him too, because next year is just so unknown. He's playing on the tag. You just never know.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, important?
I think it'd be a mistake to get rid of Bryce Huff. I think he's a stud, you know, and I think training camp's going to give him a time to shine. And I think he's going to have the option to really put these narratives to rest, you know, and if he steps up to show that. But I honestly think it'd be a mistake to trade him. I don't see him being in a trade package that would even really bring something major that we would want, right? Like, can you guys both sit here and be like, oh, you know what? Him in that trade package would get us so-and-so. There's nothing that would wow me enough for me to say, yeah, let's give up Bryce Huff. I think he's a stud. I think this will be another season where he gets to get more time, but it all comes down to training camp, right? We've got depth at the position. But I really do think he's a stud, man. I think it'd be a mistake to let him go.
And, you know, I do feel like letting Bryce Huff go would be the wrong thing to do, just because this dude, like y'all both said, was an absolute stud last year. Mm-hmm. He had the highest pass rush win rate in the NFL last year. Like, the dude is a good football player. And we know the New York Jets want to keep him around because he was a free agent this offseason. We could have let him walk, go to another team and said we placed a second-round tender on him. We wanted to keep him back, paying him $4.3 million this year. We said, Bryce Huff, you're coming back to this team. And and we knew that. We knew heading into this offseason we're probably going to add another edge rusher, which we did in Will McDonald. So the fact that we wanted to keep Bryce Huff is telling of how much his team likes him. But like you said, Italy Jet, Porto. I don't know. My mind.
Just give us both. Just give it.
One of y'all said this. I'm not used to having two people on the show. But one of the things that normally, like one of y'all said, training camp, how things progress. Will McDonald could be a step ahead than potentially even Bryce Huff in training camp. He could have surpassed what the New York Jets thought he was going to be as a rookie, and they could say, you know what, Bryce Huff, the Chicago Bears are giving us a third, fourth round pick for you. We're going to go ahead and send you away because we believe Will McDonald or Jermaine Johnson has stepped up that much. I could see something like that happening, but at the same time, I feel like it would be a mistake just because Bryce Huff is a very good football player, and he is probably going to leave next year. But if we want to win it all right this year, we got to have as much help as possible in the defense. And I just think,
and let's be real, guys. When was let's just go 3 years ago. I mean, to be in a position right now that we have other teams talking about taking an edge rusher from us, we've been dying to have edge rushers, and now we've got a plethora of them, right? So maybe it's my Jets bias where I'm like, keep them all, don't move anybody, but even with Will McDonald, like I expect him to do a lot, right? We all do. He's a first-round pick for us. But having the depth that we have doesn't need to put so much pressure on him too. So he can go in there and really find himself, find more of that weight, find more of that muscle, right? We know he's got the speed, and everybody loves to throw the bendiness word out there and all that. That's great. He's got the tool set. Now let's make sure the physical mold matches. So what better position to say, hey, we still got a Bryce Huff, we've got a JJ, we've got a Lawson, where Will McDonald can really build into that role because we expect him to be the future for us, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm sold on Bryce Huff staying. I don't think there's anything, even a third round pick doesn't excite me. Like if you're saying, hey, we can get a third round for it, it doesn't excite me. Okay, sorry. I'd rather have him play the year out, ride him till the wheels fall off, and he perform in such a way that we, A, resign him because he does amazing, or B, hey, no love lost. It didn't work out and he moves on. But at least go into the season knowing that you got someone that can produce the way he does would be an asset for us, no matter which way you look at it.
What about trade package? Would you get a linebacker, or as what you like to say for me is safety? Would you trade him for something like that?
Again, it depends on who it is, right? Because every single trade, everybody, like no matter what sport it is, no matter what fan base it is, it's so easy to throw a trade out when it's, well, we'll give this for this. And then you look at it and you're like, that doesn't match up at all. And then nobody wants to take into consideration the salaries and how much would it cost and how many years is left on that person's contract. Is it a trade right now and have to re-sign him? So it would have to be someone that really, one, wows the front office. Two, has to be someone that's really going to be a hole that is like, yo, this is a no-brainer. This guy is going to be that piece that takes us further to get that Super Bowl win than Bryce Huff. But if it's someone that's not going to move the needle in an epic fashion, then there's no reason to entertain it.
And all good points right there. Especially just if Bryce Huff, it's just whether or not this team, like if we get an absurd trade package for Bryce Huff, like some teams all here, they become so desperate. Like this is a Super Bowl contending team, and they're like, we need a pass rusher. They're giving up good assets to Bryce Huff. Then at that point, I would kind of be inclined to trade him. But having a good mentor, or just at least someone that can produce, get the weight off Will McDonald's shoulder, like you said, Porto, I think that would just be a great thing to do. But once again, if the trade package comes too extreme, then I think we kind of might be forced to trade him at that point.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Jude, in Italy, I mean, it's your guys' show, but the Bears keep getting brought up, right? Every article, they're ones that are attached to Bryce Huff. Is there anybody on the Bears that you think of that you're like, oh, we can get? Because I don't get that. I don't get that feeling at all. I'm like, oh, okay, what are they sending us? The mascot?
Right? For Chicago pizza, New York is better anyway.
All right. That's it. That's all I got to say on Bryce.
But I mean, you're right about that, though. Like Chicago, I mean, outside of pick-wise, I like their safety rooms. Quan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, that's a great safety combination, but they're not going to give that up for us.
Right.
They're not going to let those guys go for Bryce Huff. And, even you look at their linebacker room. I mean, it's one of the best in the NFL, but they signed both of those two players this offseason to some mega contracts. They're not going to
Jude, you nailed it, right? So, perfect example. If we wanted to get one of those stud safeties from them, yes, that would be great. That'd be huge. But then the conversation is, okay, what are you attaching with Bryce Huff? to make that happen. So now we're in a situation where we're not just trading a guy to trade him. We're adding more assets to make that salary cap work, every piece. And that's where people don't pay attention to the trades, right? They're just like, oh yeah, Bears want him. Let him go. 7th round pick. Like, what the hell are you talking about? That makes no sense. But yeah, no, good call.
Yeah, and the 7th round pick, Bryce Huff getting traded for 7th round pick would be the worst move in history. Terrible.
Bye.
We're talking about a 7th round pick this year. Zach Kuntz not even making the roster for crying out loud. So, yeah, I think Bryce Huff, bottom line, and I think we all agree here, he should stay. I think that's kind of right here. Moving on to our next thing with training camp coming up in about 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously, there's a whole lot of big storylines going around about players' performance. Are we going to see Michael Carter bounce back from that horrendous second year? Are we going to see Mekhi Becton finally play a full season? Both of my players right here had a name drop them. So what are we looking to see in training camp? Like from a player performance perspective. We'll start off with you, Porto.
So there's 2 answers to this for me. One, I want to get answers for our running back room. Okay, I'm hoping that we do get those answers. I think that's a big piece of what's holding us back from making moves like Dalvin Cook and stuff, is where are we with our running backs, right? And the front office has all the faith and belief in our running back room, and that's fair. I mean, we do have a solid group there. The question is, where do they fit? Who fits best together? And is there somebody that we should move on from because they're not performing in training camp that we then go and get ourselves a Dalvin Cook? So the running back room situation for me is something I'm really focusing on. And then number 2, we talked about in the Jets Evening Brew today with Brandon Palkris, and it's the quarterback backup situation. Because right now we're just talking about Zach Wilson being the backup quarterback, and that's not the dream that front office is selling us. It was let Zach grow. So I want to see if we actually bring somebody in, or if we're going to be able to see that, hey, maybe it is Strevler who's getting more time or whatever. I want to see answers and a solution for the backup quarterback situation.
What about you with the lead, Chip?
Well, since he said running back and QB, I'm going to take the wide receivers in defense role. I think we need to see if Sherwood is going to be that guy at linebacker. We got to see if Amos is going to be that starter. We got to see who's going to be behind him. Is Dean going to make it? Gibson going to make it? Is Adams going to make it? And also you got to establish what Corey Davis is going to do with this contract. Is Mims going to get traded? Which I think we're all pretty confident he might get traded or cut here. Just saying. Yeah. But also we got some undrafted players that one's already signed a contract, Brownlee, and then we have to see what Gibson's got too. There's 2 Gibsons. Weird. And then Cap. What are we going to do about Cap? These guys are coming out of nowhere, and especially in training camp, there's always a big surprise cut, like we've had with Pinnock. Pinnock, I did not expect to get cut, but he got cut, and it was one of the vocal that sucked last year in that safety position. He would have been a very nice help. So we got to establish those 3 things and see what happens from there.
And, y'all both made great points. The backup quarterback situation, definitely something I'm interested in because we don't really have a confident quarterback right now. Because if Rodgers were to go down, which, I pray to God doesn't happen, Zach Wilson, I wouldn't trust him to be the starter. Tim Boyle sucks. Like, he's a great locker room leader, but the dude, he's not a good football player. He really isn't. And, you look at his college stats, professional stats, they really aren't great. And Strevler, he's a great, Army knife, but, it's not really a great passer. He has a weak arm. He, makes kind of some poor decisions. He did lead that offense in that Jaguars game, but it's like, he could have definitely done a lot more, especially if his arm was a lot stronger, a lot more accurate. The really just thing I'm waiting to see is just the offensive line, because with Mekhi Becton coming back from injury, I feel like he's the X factor for the New York Jets this year. He's the big X factor because his offensive line performance last year, it was all right. Of course, Elijah Vera Tucker's coming back. He's an all-pro caliber player. That's great to see. We have Lincoln Thomason, a Pro Bowl guard. Is he going to bounce back? That's going to be interesting to see. Who's going to win the center job? Joe Tippmann, Connor McGovern. Who's it going to be? And is Joe Tippmann going to be a potential Creed Humphreys type of rookie in the sense that he's going to
Mhm.
be the
Mhm.
best center in the league, make a Pro
Right.
Bowl as a rookie. Is he going to have that type of rookie year? And then the tackle spots. Dwayne Brown, we pretty much know he's starting at left tackle based on what Salo said and based on the fact that he really can't play any other position on the line. But left tackle hasn't played right tackle like since high school, I want to say he said, or college. Like, it's been a long time for him.
Yeah.
Like, a very long time. But Dwayne Brown's
Mhm.
like 40 years old, so that was a while back. But Mekhi Becton, he's coming back, hasn't played professional football in 2 years. Is he going to be the player he was in his rookie year? Is he going to be better than he was in his rookie year? Is there going to be any rust on him, which you would expect after not playing football in 2 years? Like, that's just going to be so interesting to see. And all the tackles the New York Jets have, because this offseason we added so many tackles. We drafted
Mhm.
Carter Warren. We signed Yonde Kajus. We signed Billy Turner. We signed,
Right.
all these different
Right.
guys. And are any of those players going to potentially sneakily earn a roster spot? Or what about Max Mitchell coming back from blood clots? Is he maybe going to earn
Mhm.
himself a roster spot? Like, this offensive line just has so many question marks surrounding it. Like, every position on the offensive line you could make a story about because it's just super interesting about what's next.
You just said it, Jude. Literally, each one of our answers to this question says Hard Knocks.
Right.
Okay? Like, we literally just laid out the
Oh,
entire season
jeez.
of the show. Okay? Like, if we need
No.
any more proof that we're the team to cover, that's it right there. And the O line's a great call, because
Yeah.
we have so much depth. Again, here, guys. We, the New York Jets, have depth at the O-line position, right? This is a new world. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
just the
weird.
Aaron Rodgers effect. Like, we actually have multiple offensive linemen. We have multiple edge rushers. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much. And that's why this training camp is such a big deal. To also go back to the quarterback thing, like you said, Strevler's not great. Well, that's another piece, right? Is he coming back with a different form? Has he worked on some
Right.
stuff? Does he show that, man, maybe he is that backup? Boyle, we don't expect much from him, but he knows the system, right? So if
Right.
we do lose Aaron Rodgers for a half or a game, then, hey, do we have at least one or two competent quarterbacks that can get through it with our defense and with our hopeful improved O-line that our running game can carry us through that game, right? So there's just so many questions, but I can't wait to get the answers, man. I'm excited.
And you know what's really interesting about Boyle is, I was watching Hard Knocks Lions last year, and he made I think he made the team over one of their he was in like quarterback competition. That guy ended up going with the Vikings, and Boyle made that team. But what's so intriguing about Boyle maybe being the back quarterback this year is Hackett recruited him in college when he was there. Hackett had him as a backup quarterback in Green Bay with Rodgers. So it's like, okay, we all know he sucks. Like, that's nothing that we can not agree on. Like, we all agree on that. I got a question for both of you. Could Boyle maybe turn it around because he's in a system that he knows Aaron Rodgers to death, and he's got a great relationship with Hackett? What do you guys think? I'll start with Porto.
That's the thing, guys. I don't think we need anybody to be Aaron Rodgers. We've got an Aaron Rodgers, right? We need to know.
Backup only, though.
Right. Can you be a competent game controller? And if our running back room is what we think it can be, and this O-line is what we hope it can be, and our defense being a top 5 defense, which, I'm more than happy to put money on that we will be a top 5 defense, right? You need someone that can just be a game manager. And that's where Boyle will have the advantage because he knows the system. He knows when he's a dump. We don't need him out there flinging 60-yard touchdown passes. No, here's your tight ends that Hackett likes to use left and right. Here's extra blockers now that we got a Lazard on the line receiver, right? Here's a Corey Davis also blocking for you. You allow Boyle or Strevler to be just a game manager. Where Strevler gets the advantage to me is we have seen that he knows how to run with that rock. Right? He's got that fullback kind of feel to him, right? So you have that threat there where you have enough weapons around him now. You don't need someone to take over the game. You need someone that can just control the game. And that's what we need to look at with both of these guys.
And, you bring up a great point because he's been in the system for quite some time. And he's also been in the league since 2018, I want to say. We're all out here bashing his performance, but there's a reason why this dude going from team to team to team. Like he was an undrafted free agent, signed with Green Bay, then he goes to Detroit, then he goes to Chicago, and then now he's with the New York Jets. This dude's been on 4 different NFL teams.
And they all say that he's a great locker room guy, right?
Exactly.
So any team that gets behind a backup quarterback like that, I mean, look at our Jets last year when Mike White came in. I mean, we were rocking Mike White t-shirts the next day. Everybody was, the whole team was, right? Not you, but the whole team had the Mike White shirts and all that. So if you can have someone like Royal that can sit there and earn the trust of the team, and they know that if he has to come in, they know they have to work to lift him up. They're not expecting him to lift them up. Right? With Aaron Rodgers, they expect Rodgers to make them better. Right? So I think that's where the give and take comes in. So that locker room presence has to speak volumes. Like you said, he's been on 4 different teams, and it's hard to keep a career going in the NFL, especially as a backup quarterback, right? So he's doing something right. Yeah.
It's like Chase Daniel. He's made it such a science of getting paid, a lot of money getting paid doing it too. So it's hilarious.
Seriously.
But, you also bring the point about a game manager. And last year, the New York Jets were 5-2 with Zach Wilson being essentially a game manager, with Breece Hall running the offense, basically running the offense, and the offensive line playing not great, but they were all right whenever Breece Hall was in there. Zach Wilson was just managing the game. He passed whenever we needed him to. His stats didn't look great, but he was getting the job done. Every now and then, he wasn't completely dragging our feet down. But the bottom line was, the New York Jets were winning games when Zach was used as that game manager, whenever Breece Hall was controlling the offense. And now that we have Israel Abikanita, hopefully Michael Carter can step up, back into what he was. And of course, Bam Knight, who knows what he's going to do. The running offense improve. Maybe the O-line can improve, and Zach Wilson or Tim Boyle could be that good game manager. And we know that's all the New York Jets need them to do. We might not win much games, but the defense was averaging less than 20 points a game last year. If we can see our running backs and maybe even Zach Wilson just lead at least 2 touchdown scoring drives, kick a field goal, maybe even 2 or 3, score like 23, 24 points a game, then maybe we could put ourselves in a good position to, win some games by close amounts, but still win, and maybe even for only 2 games a year. Because if Aaron Rodgers were to get hurt, which I hope and pray doesn't happen, hopefully it wouldn't be for a very long time, and we can come in and edge out a win with the game manager like quarterback. And Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson have won games in the NFL before. They don't have 0 winning percentages. They have stepped up, provided the team with good enough quarterback play to edge out or maybe even having a definite win. So we definitely know these guys can win football games before, and I feel like now they're in the best situations ever to do it, because Zach Wilson, now he finally has a good defense behind him, hopefully a healthy Breece Hall. As I just said, solid game manager with a healthy Breece Hall. Tim Boyle, never really been in the greatest position with the Lions, because the only really time he got game action was with a bad Detroit team, was with a bad Chicago team. Now he's on a good New York Jets team, so maybe that can help him out as well. But this quarterback battle definitely is just going to be super interesting to watch this,
Yeah, I know I said it before, but, I'm really big on, if we see Zach Wilson coming out as our backup quarterback, I'm sorry, I consider that a fail. If you want him to reset and you want him to learn, Italy, I've said a million times, and I'm sticking to it. I love Zach Wilson. I do believe he has the assets and the tools to be a good quarterback. So if you're going to really reset him, he needs to be holding that clipboard all season long and learning from Rodgers, learning whatever little things he can from Boyle, whatever. The point is, if he's in a game and we're using him as a game manager, then we failed. Zach should not be our number 2. Zach should be learning every single piece he can from Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and not only that, it's Joe Douglas says that he's going to go bigger and better and count on the young talent. Okay. There's 2 things wrong with that. 1, younger. Okay. You're trying to win a Super Bowl. There's only so much you can do with young talent. If they have developed into great players, then you could say that. But if you want to go bigger and better, okay, you got Aaron Rodgers. Okay. That's part up there. You got Alan Lazard. You made him comfortable getting Hackett and all kinds of other players. You drafted your future running back 2 in Izzy, and then you pretty much maybe have drafted your Joe Tittman. You're probably could be your starting center for years to come. If you want to go bigger and better and stay there and be consistent all year, dude, you've got to establish that backup QB because Rodgers is 39 years old. If he goes injured, we're going to call Tim Boyle? No. There are some bad options out there. Porto, me and you have talked about, about that. But you need to establish that. If you don't, it's gonna go bad real fast.
And right before we get back into this quarterback conversation, Jason Bernard's coming in with a comment saying, salute, great evening. He's in that patriotic state still from 4th of July. Saluting back to you, Jason Bernard. But a question I have for both of you surrounding this back quarterback is looking at the free agents that are still available. If you want the New York Jets to go out and add to this backup quarterback room, which player would you want them to add? Or which backup QB would you want them to add? Start off with you, Porter.
I mean, let's be real. The only two really that are out there that are even worth mentioning is Bridgewater and Carson Wentz, right? We talked about this before, Italy, right? There's Nick Foles. There's a bunch of other ones that just whatever. You got Matt Ryan. You know, to me, it's you want to find someone that's a step up or at least 3-4 steps up from Boyle, right? But also isn't too high enough that it's going to take away from Zach's progression or the fear of him, right? Because think about it, Teddy Bridgewater, right? We know he can come in, he can control a game, he can win. We know that. But is the money that Teddy's going to be seeking worth us investing in? So it's tough. I don't have anybody right now that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy you need to go get. But let's be real. Training camp, that's when you see a lot of these cuts. That's when you see them start looking at other leagues. That's when you start seeing them look at different pieces and be like, oh, maybe we should bring this guy in and test him out. So right now, nobody has me going, yay, that's my backup quarterback. Not yet.
Be honest, I love it because you took the words right out of my mouth. That's pretty much it.
And you know, we're about to wrap things up here, but with Bridgewater too, money probably could be crazy, and he also was super injury prone last year. You know, he went in the game with his first appearance with Miami last year. First play of the game, Sauce Gardner knocked him out with a concussion.
Right.
And then he gets back against the Patriots, hurts his thumb, doesn't play the rest of the season. The Miami has to start Skylar Thompson in the playoffs. So honestly, if we were to add a veteran quarterback, I'd probably be most comfortable with Carson Wentz. You know, just 2 years ago in Indianapolis wasn't a horrible backup for them. Not backup, starter for them. Almost got him into the playoffs. With Washington last year, he put up great passing numbers, but of course was benched for Taylor Heineke. So it's just the options aren't great. Probably would go Carson Wentz if we had to pick someone, but it's just honestly, I would just.
Well, the good thing with Wentz too, if you did, and again hypothetical, if they did bring in Wentz as a backup, one, you know he's super competent. You know he knows how to play, right? Wentz's biggest issue has always been his turnover game and all that, right? But he can always give you those 2 or 3 solid games, and then he has the Wentz special where he's like, 4 interceptions, right? So we're not asking him to be
or get injured,
right? But we're not asking him to be the 10-game win Wentz. We would be asking him to be a backup, and he's got experience on the East Coast, right? I mean, Philly and everything. Like he knows how the mentality of being in a market like this. So for what's available, yeah, he would probably be the best option. Matt Ryan. For that, you go get go get Flacco again, right? It's older in age, just want to be a statue back there. You can't count on any movement. At least Wentz still gives you that middle, but I feel like he edges out the rest of the pack right now for what's available to be a great secondary option for us.
Yeah, and that's perfectly said. I was going to say something else about Wentz. You once again took the words out of our mouth. Great job, Porter. But yeah, closing thoughts real quick.
Oh,
he hit the mute button. I do it all the time too.
This is the part of the show where he gets bad Wi-Fi.
This is where we all get to mine. What is Jude saying? Keep going. I'll fill in the words for Jude.
Yeah, we'll put in the thoughts for Jude. Can you hear us, bro? Oh man! All right.
Leave the show there.
All right, listen. My closing thoughts is get a backup quarterback. Keep developing Rucker and see what Becton's got. 2 to 3 weeks is going to be very, very cool to see what happens. I'm looking forward to the Hall of Fame game as well. It's going to be a great night for Jets Nation. And that's how I'm going to leave you. And I hope everyone had a good 4th of July and a good weekend.
Yeah. Closing thoughts. Chat, don't believe everything you see on social. All right. Don't fall for the fake narratives. We know what we're building here. We know what we've got. And I think it's time for us as a fan base to not move on from the excitement of Rodgers, because that excitement is going to be there for a very long time. But it's time for us to start looking at what are the pieces that really make sense? Who needs to improve? What needs to be fixed? So these conversations can keep happening the right way. And I'll end it with Jude, Italy. Appreciate both of you for inviting me on to talk Jets, man. Loved hanging out with you guys. Jude, your internet is trying to stop us from having a goodbye conversation. So screw you, internet. All right. Why are you messing with him, internet? But appreciate you guys so much. And, let's go Jets.
All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Jets Duo Show. We go with our man, JiggaManPorto. Catch us next week for more Jets content. You can follow Drew Jets on every social media platform, Italy Jet on every social media platform, everything NYJ, Jets Evening Brew, everything. We're always here. We're always out here. And let's go Jets.
Deuces.
See ya. You lied to me. You lied to me.
You said surprise you. You said surprise you. Oh.
My neck got little big sharks on my ankles. I drink out all my